Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hello, guys.
And Mike is going to introduce our next feature film or mini-series movie film.
You are going on too much. Just say, I'll introduce it.
Okay. Mike, take it away.
Lovely. Okay. Today, folks, we're doing a two-part TV film that was done in 2006. It's called The Curse of King Tut's Tomb. Or, also known as The Curse of King Tut. Now, this was starring Casper Van Dien. Now, we all remember him from Starship Troopers. All you girls, I'm sure you liked him.
Yeah.
But the leading lady is Lenore Varela. She's really something to look at, guys.
Woof.
And the mean, horrible, nasty guy is a guy called Jonathan Hyde. He plays a Morgan Sinclair.
Dun da da.
Yeah, so Casper Van Dien plays Danny Fremont. He's our intrepid archaeological hero, much in the line of Indiana Jones type stuff. Oh, actually, the feeling of this is a little bit like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. It's a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah. But it's just the way he's dressed. You know, Casper. He looks like Indiana
He's a bit
Jones.
between Indiana Jones and whatever.
Morgan Freeman. I mean, not Morgan Freeman,
Buglugs out of The Mummy.
Brandon Fraser.
Brandon Fraser, yeah. So a cross between, not quite as serious as Harrison Ford's character, Indiana Jones, and not quite as funny as Brendan Fraser. He's sort of in the middle. But anyway, it's really, really good. Do you want to take over now? It was a TV film, like I said, the two-parter.
Yeah.
And it was written by a guy called David Titcher. And I think it's a Hallmark Entertainment production. Yada, 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 yada. Yeah. Our way, Sarah.
Yes, so the story takes place with Casper's character. His character, as we discussed, is Danny Fremont, and he's going out of his way to secure this special tablet that's divided in 4 parts. His arch rival, the evil
Morgan
Sinclair guy, has already gotten 3 of the pieces, but Danny is trying to secure the final piece.
Does that remind you a little bit of Laura Croft? Weren't they chasing around some parts of something rather than put together at one stage?
True.
I wonder if they stole the idea, eh?
Yeah. At first, just at the beginning of this movie, Danny was about to secure the 3rd piece, but dear old Sinclair is tracking his trail, and just like a certain character from Raiders of the Lost Ark in Indiana Jones' movie.
What's the name?
Balak.
Balak, yeah.
Yeah.
Balak.
Somehow he comes to the site and takes the treasure off him.
What was yours temporarily is now mine. Well, that's what this Morgan Sinclair is a bit like. He's trying to get these pieces of this old ancient artifact from, which dates to pre-Egyptian history, so he can bring an evil god back to life, or bring back this evil god in our realm and take over the world and get all its power and stuff. It looks like a good fun thing.
Yeah, and
it's been done.
And he belongs to a secret society, Hellfire Club.
Yeah, actually, I've heard of a name, Hellfire Club, but it was more into satanic worship type stuff. But I think Alistair Crowley or somebody had something to do with. I can't remember now, but
anyway, their main role in this movie is world domination and gain control over the world.
Yeah, exactly right. And who wouldn't? Everyone needs a hobby.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, what Sinclair presents his findings, and they're not pleased that he is slow on the research.
Well, yeah, it's really, see, his head boss, the Hellfire Club, is Malcolm McDowell.
Played by him.
Yeah, played by, I can't remember his name, but Malcolm McDowell plays a role. And Sinclair is saying, well, I'm tasting all these bits and it's going to be really good for us and everything. No, Sinclair had his own hidden agenda. He wanted these things for himself. And the head of the Hellfire Club was getting annoyed it was taking so long and couldn't understand why he wanted them so desperately. And he thought it was a load of rubbish initially, and then he thought he came on board a bit, and then he became disenchanted with him. And they kept saying, well, how come the other guy can find them and you can't? We should have hired him instead. You know, that sort of stuff. So,
yes. Anyway, they decided, after they found the third piece, they decided to get him try to make him less important in the eyes of the world.
Oh, yeah, they tried to discredit him so he would be forced into obscurity so people wouldn't believe his tales.
Yeah, they kind of... he got fired from the university he was working in, and his publisher refused to write any more books about him.
Publish him, For him, because the whole point is
and each
Sinclair and Danny, Casper's role, were looking for the same thing, and Sinclair wanted to get it before him, and they both knew it had something to do with, believe it or not, King Tut's tomb. What a great name for a movie, hey? And
so this is before dear old Howard Carter found it.
So it was still missing. He lost it. Anyway, whatever.
Yes. Anyway, so they discredit him. He's a public disgrace, and that's not good for any of him.
He's a loser,
and thinks that they won't be able to pay for his next trip to do his next find.
Maybe going to pay for a meal at McDonald's.
Yeah, his friends are not really supportive. They want to plan to go off to Brazil to look at a diamond mine.
Yeah, and do some work down there and come home pockets full of money. Yeah,
or diamonds.
Well, pocket full of money from selling the diamonds.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So they're not as supportive, but they try their best to beef up their friends' morale by make them feel better.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they try to find the maps to Tutankhamen, but both Danny and Sinclair, they both got frauded by fake maps.
Fake maps over here. I mean, every man on every street corner, and every kid has a map, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. Well, it's hard to believe if most of the stuff you find is real or fake.
There's a lot of fakes over there. Yeah.
A professional would know.
Even back in those days.
Would notice the difference. They would notice certain markings, and I think that the lady what's her name in this role?
What, the lady's name or the role?
Leading character.
Well, the leading character, Lenore Varela, plays. What's her name? I didn't write it down. Whatever. Azelia Barakat or something. Yeah, Azelia Barakat. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's a good memory, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Azelia sounds like a plant, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, she explains that certain those maps are not real because no doubt in the old days these would be written on papyrus and not.
Yeah, exactly. Right. She was an Egyptologist, so and she studied all the ancient antiquities, so she knew fakes from real ones and stuff. So she's a really clever lady.
Yeah, she's also worked at the Museum of Antiquity, I think. And they kind of fired her, but her boss fired her because he's selling artifacts to private collectors instead of sharing the history with the world.
I mean, that's a problem. I don't know about nowadays. Because a lot of the digs nowadays are sponsored by universities and museums anyway. So everything goes back to the country who sponsors the dig. Well, not everything. Some things go back to the country who sponsors the dig, and other things stay in the museums in that country. That's why there's so much stuff in Egypt. But in the early days, when the guys like the French and English and whoever went there, they would actually dig it up and take it home to their own country.
Yeah, if you guys heard of the story of the Rosetta Stone, that was taken by a few French archaeologists to try to decipher the language, if I recall correctly. Yeah, they gave a guy called
Champollion who actually deciphered. I think it had 3 languages on it saying the same thing. I can't remember what languages they were offhand, but so they knew one of the languages, I think, or 2 of the languages, I can't remember. And from that, he cross-referenced it back, and he figured out how to read Egyptian hieroglyphics and stuff. There you go. And this Champollion guy, fantastic. What a clever man. A linguist or whatever he was, yeah.
Oh, language.
Anyway, we are digressing from the storyline here, aren't we?
So our beloved archaeologists, they try to find the Tutankhamun's tomb. Danny gets found out that by his diggers that they're not going to pay them, and they kind of threw him off the site, and they drive off and try to find out another lead if they could.
Yeah.
Which they do. They find a soothsayer who predicts the future and possibly get messages from the beyond.
He was getting them from beyond. He's getting beyond any... really weird. He's getting them from ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Ooh.
At one point in one of the scenes, we see him on the ground and something is burned into his chest.
A map.
A map.
What a great place to have it, hey?
Yeah, so...
No one's ever going to take that, hey? You have to skin you alive.
True. So Danny kind of traced the map on a piece of paper in the sense.
Yeah.
And that map eventually does lead him to the right site in the place.
Yeah, it didn't actually look like the site we went to. Oh, well, I'll change the top of this moment. We have been to Egypt. Haven't we, Sarah?
Oh, yes.
And we went to the Valley of the Kings, the Valley of the Queens, all the odd drippy things. And now this movie, believe it or not, is based in Egypt, but it was all filmed in India. And I must say, you can't tell much difference. Some of the architecture is obviously going to be different, but they kept the feel up, and it felt like, hey, you're really in ancient Egypt, or not ancient Egypt, Egypt of 100 years ago, because it was based in 1922, and that's about 100 years ago. And yeah, it's the old parts of Egypt did remind me of the movie, and vice versa. So it's a credit to the guys that made the movie. The realism is quite nice. It's good. It feels great.
Yes.
Carry on.
So, they found the right site, and they found, guess what? Tutankhamun's head.
Yeah, his face mask. Yeah, the golden mask which goes over his corpse. Yeah.
Yeah, and he shows it to his friends. They're all excited. Woohoo! And they decide to play a trick on Sinclair, who's digging in the wrong place.
Yeah, so buried the saber in his sight there to make him feel that, hey, we're on the right path over here.
But there's a big problem there because they dug it too thinly.
The ground was too soft and
the ground
powdery,
was too
which means
soft.
it wasn't old ground or new ground. So Sinclair, being another Egyptologist guy, realised that it was a plant. It didn't look like a plant; it looked like a piece of gold to me. But anyway, but he realised,
in other words, it was too an easy.
Yeah,
they dug it a bit more deeper, maybe.
No, but the ground wasn't solid. It would have been hard packed dirt, like almost digging through concrete. Not quite, but almost that bad, really hard. But it was very soft, like beach sand, which means someone had already dug it up and put it back over it. So he knew that there was a bit of a shenanigans going on here.
Yeah.
But he knew it was a real antiquity, but it didn't belong there. So.
Yeah. Soon they do find the exact spot where the tomb is, and everyone is happy. Even the lady who somehow is Danny's love interest is all excited. She says, "Oh look, we found a few curses on the ground. We're gonna all die!" Oh! And they're all excited.
Dancing around and we're gonna die. We're gonna. Yeah,
and they're like, and the rest of the crew says, "What are you all nuts?" And they said, "No, we're on the right track.
We found it! Yay!" Actually, it wasn't deemed to be a comedy, but they did have elements of comedy in it to lighten up like any good movie would. So there were a couple of little funny bits like that.
Yeah. And in this, I didn't say this at the beginning of this podcast, but in this movie, it does have a bit of a fantasy thrown into this movie.
We'll get onto that. They bring Tutankhamen back life. They go into the netherworld.
Yeah. In this case, dear Tutankhamen, he's more than just a boy king. Is the history books
they made him son of Ra, who was actually made to battle Seth.
Yeah, and
the evil gods.
And protect the world in Egypt from near devastation from those demons.
Yeah, well, Seth was a demon, head god demon type guy, and he was there to battle him and to put him back in his place.
And that tablet I mentioned is sort of
that was his power.
Yeah, and it sort of opens the door
to a
portal to that underworld
and bring all the demons into our world.
Yes.
Not very nice.
But that comes much later on.
Yeah, but that's why I had the thing, you see. So they broke Tutankhamen, broke it into 4 pieces, and he scattered into 4 parts of the world. But one part of it, the 4th part, was buried or entombed with Tutankhamen in his burial chamber.
Yes, exactly the reason why they're all trying to find Tutankhamun's tomb, so that Danny could probably get the piece, probably protect it or destroy it, or if the other guy,
he tried
Sinclair,
to destroy it.
It
didn't work. No, bugger.
Yeah, well, anyway, they soon find the tomb. They open it up, and there's all this beautiful stuff.
Just like when Howard Carter found it in the olden days.
Yes, and for after a bit of checking here and there, they do find the piece, and when they're about to clean up the tomb and give everyone their fair cut.
They had a deal with the what do you call it, president, whatever head guys in Egypt, excuse me, so they could actually take the stuff and sell it and whatever, and then once they found everything, the deal was changed. Everything's going to belong to Egypt. They'll get nothing for their time or efforts, no compensation. They were really annoyed.
Yeah, well, they were the ones who put the team together,
and they paid for their time.
It's just like if you're going to a film shoot, you need to give the crew and the team something to make sure that they are well looked after.
Yeah, no, it's a bit rude.
It is rude that they.
I think that's a little bit is based on reality, because I mean, some of these third world countries, Middle East or whatever, I mean, they do tend to change their mind on things quite easily. I won't say that's Egypt, but I mean, So it's really hard.
It's all based on a handshake.
And stuff.
Mostly.
Well, even the piece of paper they don't honour.
True.
Sometimes they just change their mind. They've changed their mind.
Yeah.
We don't like what you're doing. Go away. But we spent hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars trying to do this dig, and you tell us to go away and leave the stuff alone. Now we've found it. No, that's not right.
Yes. So they're told to go off. Of course, Danny and the nice lady were able to put the half the tablet into his backpack before they left, hopefully to save it from any bad guys. Meanwhile,
exactly.
Yes, and eventually they tried to destroy it. They got one of their friends who deals with dynamite.
He's a crazy guy. You like him.
He tries to blow it up, but there's no dent on it.
Yeah, not bad. Well, see, it wasn't made of earthly material. You see, it was made by the gods. A little bit like the ring in Lord of the Rings. It had to go back to the Mount Doom and be thrown into the volcanic lava and stuff to destroy it. So he couldn't destroy this.
Yeah, so this is one of those pieces that cannot be destroyed by any human-related weapon.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes, it reminds me of an earlier film project my friend made, who's... Well, it's a bit of a spin-off version of a fan film, I should say, which is called Indiana Jed, and they were out to find a piece of dangerous artifact and try to destroy it that way, but somehow they couldn't destroy it for gosh knows reasons. But luckily they do. Mystical. But eventually they do save the world in that one.
As every good Indiana Jones movie turns out, generally. Yes. Even the fan base ones. But anyway, carry on.
Anyway, now that they realize that they cannot destroy it, but somehow Sinclair does get wind of where it is, and they were able to steal that piece and somehow go to the tomb and do a bit of their hocus pocus mumbo jumbo and summon Set's power, and St. Clair is the volunteer to get zapped into his body.
Also the volunteer, he's the one invoking him, so he got a little bit of his power.
Yeah, so, with the power, the other members see him as a bit of a threat.
Yeah, let's get rid of him.
Yeah, and they send their best assassin to get him whacked. But it doesn't go according to plan.
No.
It seems that Set's power gave him a second sight.
And he knew the guy was coming up behind him, and he invited him in, sat down there, and made him shoot himself.
Yeah.
And then he brought his body back to the Hellfire Club. So I got a little present for him, threw his body into a seat.
Yeah, and with Set's power, he gets a fireball and starts disintegrating the rest of the members.
Yep. And then he's there by himself. He's going to chair a meeting. Who with?
Quite right.
They always do that in these movies. They get rid of everybody and sit down. Now I'm in charge. In charge of what? All the other guys are dead. You're going to bring a demon into the world. He's going to decimate the world. There's going to be nothing left. What is the evil guy, this Sinclair guy, actually going to be in charge of when it's all over?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's seeing as that. Well, I don't know the full.
What a moron!
What he got planned up his sleeve, or what he and Set have agreed on.
Well, I haven't agreed on anything. Set had not even spoken to him about this.
Yes.
He wasn't on his payroll.
Yes. Anyway, he brought a lot of the demons into the world, into the human world, and
it looked like there was the boss guys, didn't they?
Yeah, and all the while these humans are trying to fight back these creatures. In reality, there's nothing there. Like, they're seeing hallucinations.
Yeah,
or dreams.
The spirit.
Yeah.
The spirit more so. I'd say those who they want to see them can see them, and so when they're ready to be seen, they would be seen. And that was it. So.
So, running out of time, Danny realizes that they must get the tablet in order to go into the underworld that it mentions in Tutankhamun's tablet,
wake him up,
him up, and maybe defeat the monster, Set.
Yeah.
So they sneak into Sinclair's apartment, steal the tablet, and head off to the dig site.
Insured. Do they have an insurance policy covering it? No,
I don't. So they soon arrive at the site with no problem on their part, and they start heading inside. Found a bit of a hidden passageway that leads down deep
to the underworld,
under Tut's tomb, which means that this part of the tomb was never made by human hands.
Well, some Egyptian guy said, wasn't ancient Egypt marvelous? And
we should be
Danny
honored.
says to him, this predates Egyptian history. It was made by somebody else, pretty much.
Meaning it was built long before Tutankhamen came along.
Yeah, so the Tutankhamun's tomb was actually built on top of this, which is probably a doorway to the netherworld.
True. So they go inside. They even encounter a horrible long statue snake.
Yeah,
that somehow comes to life.
Like a basilisk out of Harry Potter,
It comes to life and is about to eat them, and a guy who has the dynamite gets snapped up with the dynamite in his hand.
He had dynamite lit in his hand, going to throw it at him, and the snake ate him, and so he was inside the snake when it blew up. So he obviously died, but the snake did too, which is handy. Yeah, handy. Yeah.
Yes, so.
It was a big snake.
Yes, as they keep going into it, they soon find the entrance, or not the entrance, I mean the portal into the underworld.
Yeah, it just opened up in the ground there behind the photographer who fell in. What happened to him?
He might have died.
No, he fell down the hole through the portal to the underworld. And when they went down there, everyone jumped in the hole, he wasn't down there.
Yeah.
I wonder... Oh, yeah.
So,
come on.
Yeah, anyway, as
they made a mistake there, didn't they?
Yeah, and Sinclair is right on their heels, and they have a bit of a small gun battle before they head into the portal, and with the luck, they all jumped in, or some of them jumped in, because the others got killed.
Well, our heroes all jumped in.
Yeah, and the world is pretty bizarre.
It was something like hell.
Yes, well, that's what Danny says. He says this is some kind of hellish purgatory thing that Egyptians described in myth, all that stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of cultures have that sort of story about hell or some netherworld that was supposed to represent the other place.
Yeah. Yeah. And seeing as they didn't have their special soothsayer. Well, for some reason that he's gone, he's been killed, but another volunteer somehow shares a bit of a possession thing
Tut
between
got into
Tutankhamen.
somebody there and said, pretty much follow me, go this way, do that, and they found their way to where Ra was entombed, hidden in a wall.
Yeah.
They found him. Marvellous.
Yeah.
And now let's go on to a couple of quick things. Some of the scenes down there, the sky was really swirling nice, and the special effects were great down there. What do you think? It did feel like hell, but not like fire and brimstone like the romanticized ones in all the movies. Like, oh look, there's a big fire
nothing
there.
Red, nothing gory.
No, just a little dismal place, and it really had a really depressing sort of atmosphere and dangerous and stuff. And it was good. Anyway.
Yes. So anyway, as our story progresses, Sinclair and his friends come to the Netherworld, and they tend to kill the rest of the good guys.
Yeah,
and summon Set eventually.
Yeah. So,
which he does. He kind of summons Set, and Set is, least bit pleased to see Sinclair.
Yeah, so pleased that he gave him
a big hug
and ate him.
Or sucked him out.
Well, it transferred him into acid and sucked him inside his body.
Yeah, he kind of did.
Yeah.
Sinclair, when he was possessed with all Set's powers,
he was doing that.
He was doing the same thing with the other victims.
Yeah.
And well, I guess Set didn't want to share his powers anymore.
No,
so
why should he?
Yes, so he sucked up the
Guy.
host.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bugger,
and now it's up to Danny and Tutankhamen and his lead hero,
Azelia, whatever.
To finish off Set if they can.
And lo and behold,
yes,
Tutankhamen works really, really hard.
Yes,
in a very short battle though.
Yeah, just so you know,
a very short battle.
At first, Tutankhamen is a little bit run down, like he'd just been sleeping for thousands of years.
Yeah, well,
and
the defrost him out
the leading lady calls to the sun god, telling him to rise Tutankhamen from his, and gave him back his powers. Even though
a little bit like Han Solo coming out of carbonite.
Yeah, and somehow he eventually does get his powers, and he somehow saves Danny from falling into the acid water.
Well, we don't know what the water is supposed to be, but it did look very nice. I don't know whether it was big swimming pool or sewerage or acid or
or something. Anyway, he saved him, and he takes down Set in a few.
Yeah, wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
And he soon brings the final two characters back to his tomb, and he says that
everything is as it should be, or will be as it should be, something like that. They didn't know what he actually meant.
Yeah,
and they said, you better leave now. And then everything in the tomb started coming back to the way it was before they took all the gear out of there, which means he was turning it back in time and undoing everything.
And Tutankhamen thanks dear Danny for all his help. Yeah,
he does, and he actually got his name right too, Danny.
Yes. Maybe he always knew he was destined to help.
Well, he's speaking ancient Egyptian. He wouldn't say hello, Danny Fremont. He'd say gobbledygook, whatever.
Yeah, he did speak in there.
Got his name right.
Yes. Anyway,
you read the script.
They head out of there. It was just like in a reverse cave-in, only not.
and then they got out, and the whole thing sort of sealed up like it was never dug up.
Yeah, and Tutankhamen returns to his crypt. Like now he's actually inside a crypt. Because beforehand, just so you guys know, his sarcophagus was not there. It was empty, meaning that there was no body, there was no sarcophagus, just nada.
So the young man had a chance to lie down in his
he's finally
sarcophagus,
resting in peace.
But probably within 6 months or 12 months, Howard Carr's there digging the bugger up again.
Yes. Anyway,
just can't any rest around.
So when they return to Danny and the leading lady return back to Cairo,
to the real world,
they soon see the whole world is back to its normal.
Subject to a couple of changes we'll go through in a moment. But they can't. There's no damage. Everyone's as it should be. But two of their friends died. One died.
Yeah, in the real world.
Before they went down to the underworld, one died in the underworld, and they were both there, and they had no recollection of what happened.
Yeah, and one of the bomb guy I told you guys about, he's no longer in the bombing business. He's now
an artist. And this mad soothsayer, mystic guy who was being possessed by everybody, by demons and whatever, was now a well-respected mystic and had posters all over the place saying how wonderful he is.
Yes.
Things have changed. But the biggest thing was, do you want to say about the girl?
Yeah, the girl was engaged in much later.
In the beginning of the movie.
In the beginning of the movie.
To this Egyptian guy.
And we find out much later that he's in this new timeline that he's already married and has kids.
2 kids. So Tutankhamen saying, okay, look, you really love this Danny guy, so I'll arrange things so you two can be together. Isn't that lovely?
When it is clear that by the look
matchmaker, make me a match. No, whatever.
Yeah, but you gotta admit that in that scene where she sees him across the way there, it looks like he recognized her and he's happy to see her.
No, he looks at her, smiles at pretty ladies. She's not bad. You know, like Brendan Fraser had Rachel Weisz. Mm-hmm. Well, she was a bit like Rachel Weisz, a pretty dark-haired girl, lovely figure, very attractive. And she had, not enough name like Lenore Varela. She got enough Spanish or something like that. She had a nice foreign accent. And was really cute. She was a lovely lady. So anyone would look at her and smile.
Yes. So now everything is different and a bit better. I wouldn't be surprised. Now he's got his credibility back, meaning he's probably still a teacher.
He's teaching,
and he's still publishing good works.
And he's got an idea for a new book, he said.
Yes, and
what's the new book you want to write?
I don't know. I think it was about. I've got a book about. I think it was about the Tutankhamen thing. But,
I don't know.
And
can't remember.
Of course, the map that he had on his possession, he gives it to Howard Carter,
the guy who was accredited for finding Tutankhamun's tomb back in the 20s. Ta-da!
Yes,
funny that, hey.
Yeah, and the final change up is that now that he can have a relationship with a lady now.
Lucky.
Yes, and we cut to some some stock footage of Howard Carter discovering the tomb. Yada yada yada. You get this picture. You watch the movies. You
get the popcorn.
You get the popcorn, and now you know the story that Howard Carter discovered the tomb, and few people died during this discovery, and it made history and headlines.
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 Oh, headlines.
So
headlines. No.
So everything's changed, and all except for. The only people who do remember is the 2 characters.
Danny and Azelia. Those 2 guys. They remember, but no one else knew it because, they'd been down there and everybody else's lives were taken back to like before it happened. Yeah, and made better. Like actually, one of the guys was dying of TB, and he's probably been cured now. Yeah, meaning he may have never had it. Well, they might have got it so he didn't get it and die. Little things like so. Nice little tweaks there. Ra was happy that Tutankhamen did the job, and Tutankhamen was happy. So and everything is back. They made everyone who got involved with it on the good side of it have a slightly better life. Yeah. Anyway, Danny does eventually propose to his girlfriend after a long courtship, and they plan the next adventure of finding. Probably the lost Ark, Noah's Ark. That's right. I mentioned something about Mount Ararat. So, I think they're going to go, we go there. Yeah. So, Noah's Ark. Honestly, no one really knows where Mount Ararat really is. And if Noah's Ark was actually on Mount Ararat. So, it's, there's a lot of, Yeah, but then again. And what the crystal skull in Indiana Jones, that was a fake anyway. So, so why make a movie about it? Yeah, as we're saying, the film then fades out, and we are left to guess that they're gone off to their next adventure. Yeah. It's like Indiana Jones riding off the sunset after the Last Crusade. Oh, I love that scene. I bet we've been there too, haven't we? Yeah. Petra was good. Anyone, look, right at the moment we're going for a really bad time globally, financially, because of the stupid virus. When things get back together, worldwide, maybe next year or something rather, and the economy gets stronger, the Middle East is not really a bad place to go for a holiday. Go on an organised tour. Don't do your own thing. Because the tour guys know where to go, and they'll keep in touch with local authorities if there's a problem in an area, which we had a couple of times. We were told that if there's going to be a problem, we would go somewhere else. So it's safe to go for a holiday to these places if you go on an organised trip. Do not do your own thing, because chances are you will get into trouble somewhere. And that's safety in numbers too. Yeah, I certainly loved when we went to Petra in the Middle East. Well, we did Egypt, Petra,
Jerusalem.
Israel. And then while we were in Israel, we went and we stayed on a kibbutz for a week and did an archaeological dig.
Yeah, that was really fun. Archaeology dig.
But we were digging underground. We were in a cave.
Yeah, and we found some awesome stuff there.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, Mike here said he found
some plates which were unbroken and stuff. Yeah.
And I found a very big wine jar.
Yeah, it's in pieces, but all the pieces were there, and they'll get that and take it back to the washing area, and then get it all cleaned up, and then they'll put it together using some sort of latexy glue or whatever they use, and actually reconstruct it, and that would end up in a museum.
Oh, we also found a lot of sheep's bones there too.
So, sheep. Yeah, there must have been a lot of sheep over there. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, think about it. When Jesus was born, they had shepherds sitting out there in the field, so they would have had a lot of sheep. Sheep might have been one of their prime livestock type thing. They might have maybe less cows and probably more sheep. They're a smaller animal to work with, and maybe they would never. Maybe they didn't have a lot of cows out there, but they might have had some.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I did enjoy.
Because they did remember killing the fatted calf on the prodigal son, so they must have had cows there as well. I'm going good here, aren't I, folks?
Yeah, or they maybe used it for sacrifices and left the bones there.
They would have eaten them as well. Some stuff goes to sacrifice, and some goes in your guts. You get hungry. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Some for me, some for sacrifice.
Yeah. So anyway, as we were digressing again.
What?
Well, the movie was pretty interesting, and I've seen it a couple of times in the past, and I thought this would make a good podcast episode to review for this one.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it's in the same spirit of, say, Indiana Jones and the Mummy movies.
Only a bit more fantasy than
a tad more fantasy,
Yeah, and not unlike Indiana Jones, where it had a bit more facts in it.
A lot of Indiana Jones stuff is actually based on real archaeological stuff. Now, the first one was Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now it was based on the Ark of the Covenant, in the Bible. Okay, there Moses had it, and it was spirited away. I got some theories on it, but we're not going to go into that now. What was the next one? That was the Temple of Doom. Was the next one?
Yeah.
Now, Temple of Doom was based on some sacred rocks in Indian culture. Now, some of these old cultures did have sacred things like that, sacred marked rocks and different things. These rocks came from the sacred river. So, chances are that was based on some sort of reality. The third one was the Holy Grail. No, not the Last Crusade. The third one.
No, that's what I was saying. It was Last Crusade's one.
Oh, sorry. Last Crusade. That was about the Holy Grail. And that was another antiquity that people have been looking for thousands of years. But last one, Crystal Skull, we won't talk about because that was a fake. I don't know what. I mean, it's made a good movie, but I would not have made an Indiana
I read
Jones
somewhere
movie.
that Steven Spielberg was not too pleased about that particular movie. I think he preferred it that The Last Crusades was the last episode to that said movie.
I mean, if the Crystal Skull was a real antiquity, it would have been different, but it was disproven. Even before the movie was made, so why the hell make it? It broke away from, I would say the tradition. Well, the tradition of Indiana Jones, basing the themes around real archaeology.
Yeah, he's not an alien scientist.
Aliens. Come on, guys, flying saucers, please.
I'm skeptic, and I preferred his story accuracy when you think about it.
Yeah.
Or not his story. I mean, this considering that both topics, in the Lost Ark. I mean, Lost Ark and the Last Crusades being religious artifacts, which was
that's what an archaeologist would do. They would chase these old religious antiquities and other things from the past and try to find them. But the Crystal Skull, which is fake, and they go somewhere and they find a spaceship under the ground and a temple and some other things built around it and stuff.
Yeah.
If it lost something.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going back to the story now.
We're just talking about
While this is fantastic, the Indiana Jones stuff. This one with Casper in it. It's more to do with fantasy and
a little bit of action.
It's a little bit of action, and it's not very. I mean, I'm not going to pick at the story here, but But seeing as Tutankhamen was no more than just a king pharaoh in the story, like
they made him a bit more. They made him a bit more.
They made him a bit more like a god,
an action hero almost.
Action hero, god, whatever, for this movie.
Yeah, but he only had a small part in it, didn't he? The last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I do have one thought about the movie.
That? Yes, sir.
While we may have now that they're in this new timeline where everything's back to normal, is Sinclair or the fire group, are they still around, or they just been eliminated from this timeline?
I really don't think Tutankhamen would have brought those guys back to life.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
I think he would have brought the good guys back to life because they were fighting on his side for the good of mankind.
I think that's.
And he just let the other guys die.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, or at least had Sinclair's parents say, "Let's not have a kid now. Let's wait until a couple more months and then we'll have a kid."
Or whatever. Or get him run over by a horse and buggy or something. Or
something.
Yeah.
Right.
But something, yeah. But,
or have them live different lives. Like in this one timeline, everyone's living a little. I mean. Like the guy who's the bomb guy, he's become a painter, an artist, which means maybe the other.
They could have made him a tree hugging hippie or something or other.
Wrong time, Dad.
Sorry,
but
sorry.
Who knows? They may have he may have sent Sinclair into a madhouse,
or maybe made him a philanthropist and do a lot of good for mankind instead of evil.
Wow. Yes.
That'd be a turn, wouldn't it? There you go.
Hey, maybe the fire group guys, they may have gone off to do something else.
Yeah, something good for mankind. And they could have made them all nice guys instead of horrible, self-serving...
Assholes.
You can't say assholes, okay?
Well, it's not a swear word.
I know, but it's not nice. Kiddies might be listening, okay? I mean, Will said assholes a couple of sections ago.
Yeah, well, anyway, who knows? Maybe they could have been eliminated in this new timeline. They could have.
They might. Or changed.
Or changed. It's up to Dear or Toot.
I don't want to change Malcolm McDowell. I like his character.
Yeah, evil.
He's always a sinister evil guy. Really
maybe he's gone off to Fantasy Island.
That's right. He can be Mr. Rourke or something.
Yeah, that could be it. Because he does become. In another role he did play Mr. Rourke in Fantasy Island in the TV series.
That was second series, wasn't
it? Yeah, the 1990 version.
I saw the original one years ago with crikey, what's his name? French guys. I can't remember. I can't remember his name now. Yeah, but he must have been the second series. Or the reboot, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I like the movie. It's good. It's a good, fun storyline. It makes you want to be there. It's like I've always liked those sort of Middle Eastern sort of based movies, like Death on the Nile. That takes to Egypt, and other movies just take you to the Middle Eastern sort of countries. And I like this because it feels so good. I mean, I know it was done in India, but it felt like it was in Egypt. And I do like Egypt and those sort of places in antiquities.
I did think it was kind of romantic and kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, go for a holiday, guys. It's really good. Yeah. Now, just getting on something. This was this movie was done by Hallmark Entertainment. It was a TV movie, 2-part TV movie. Each part goes about an hour and a half, so it's a long watch. So if you can manage to get a copy of it, I think we got ours from. Do we get it on Amazon?
Yeah, I think.
So Amazon you should be able to get a copy of it. It's a good watch. I like it. I mean, it's a good balance of a little bit of horror. It's not a lot of horror. It's more fantasy action to me. A little bit of horror. Yeah, the monster guy and whatever, and the guy sucking eyes inside himself. Yeah, okay. Whatever, but more fantasy action. It's good, fun movie in line with, say, Brendan Fraser's Mummy. Along that, it's about. There wouldn't be any more horror than that, I wouldn't say, but it's a bit more. It's fun adventure action. Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah,
yes.
but it is fantasy horror.
Yeah. So, how do you want to rate this movie, Mike?
Look, I mean, I keep giving high marks, but we're picking good movies, so I have to say it's up around 9 again. But I keep saying we have to watch a really rubbishy movie and say this is worth about 2.5. But
Yeah, well,
we have to look for a crappy movie.
I know.
But you don't want to watch a crappy movie.
I do want to watch a crappy movie. It's just that I just don't want to bore my viewers and bore myself with something that may turn out to be.
No, it's fun. We
horrible.
watch a crappy movie. Like Hostel.
And I don't want to be. I don't want to. I don't want to be nasty about. Nasty to it.
And say the point is, if it's a crappy movie, and everybody else thinks it's a crappy movie, and we're only echoing our own personal feelings and the feelings of the rest of the world, we're not saying anything which hasn't already been said. Mm-hmm. So everyone believes it's a crappy. It's like that movie, The Room, you won't watch with me. It's the worst movie ever made, I think. It's cost millions to make. It made about a couple of $1,000s, But that sort of stuff. It was a rubbish movie. So we got to find some not so good movies to say, well, it was bad because the storyline wasn't really good, or the acting was a bit funny. That sort of stuff.
I haven't rated the movie yet.
I don't care.
I do. I want to rate it to dummy.
Okay. Rate it 9.
Yeah, 9 out of 10. I mean, with costumes, similar costumes.
That look good.
And location, and let me see, the special effects.
They had a bit of CGI, didn't they?
A little bit CGI.
It might have been a touch of green screen as well.
Yeah. You can't do without it.
But when the little kid was in the middle of the road, when the camel wagon was going over the top there, and there was either 2 layers or green screen or whatever they did.
Might be anything of it.
Yeah. So it was just little things. Yeah, but it's good.
But by the sounds of it, the camel looks like he was just. It doesn't look like he was going to trot over the kid.
Yeah, but I had a picture of the kid sitting there on the road. You saw the wheels go past the kid on the road, and the camel running it. Yeah, so it was a good effect anyway. So there would have been a little bit of green screen, a bit of CGI. CGI was not overdone. The monster and his little bat-like creature things, which was part of him, they look real enough. I think they didn't look too what's the word? Too computer generated, did they? Mm-hmm. They look pretty good.
They look pretty good.
Yeah.
I did think and I also enjoyed the storyline for this one too.
Yeah, and just enough love interest in it to make it interesting. A little bit of magic in there, and the boy meets girl, and girl thinks guy's a bit of a creep and a loser, and he ends up the girl anyway. That's not too bad.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a surprise when I found out in the story that she's already engaged to someone, and she never even bothered to mention it to him till much later in the
it was a need to know basis, wasn't it?
First episode.
Yeah, it wasn't need to know. You don't really need to know.
Yeah, but it was a surprise to him because it was pretty clear that they were growing some chemistry there, and he really liked it.
There was. You can see you can see the sparks.
Yeah.
You can hear the juices flowing. No.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, this has been a really good review on this one, thanks to Mike's sarcastic nature.
What?
So
that's my job.
Of course it is. We won't hold it against you.
Sometimes it's hard to find humour in what we're doing, and sometimes I'm hard pressed, but sometimes it just comes forth, or even come fifth. It just comes, and I just let it out.
Yeah, like fart.
And if it's really, really, really bad, and really, I will edit it. Sometimes this will go through an editing process, and no, I will not let something out like a fart. That's rude. Now, we will do edit out occasionally, especially if we drop a naughty word occasionally, accidentally. We don't want that to come out. But words like asshole's okay, I think. I think that's not really a swear word. It's just it's part of your anatomy, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
So, guys, that's all we have today for this podcast. So I'll see you guys next time. Till then, unpleasant dreams. See you around, guys.
I'm dreaming.